Hey guys, it's Cece, and today I'm going to be talking about books starring book characters like you and me. So what I'm going to be talking about today are books that have lead characters who absolutely love to read. These are often characters that I connect with the most. They're also books that probably strongly influenced me on my long way of becoming a huge book reader. So I have 7 books to share with you, and let's just talk about some books that I absolutely love that have lead characters who love to read. First up, let's start with an obvious one, and that is Matilda by Roald Dahl. Matilda is the story of a little girl who is born into a family that does not appreciate the fact that she loves to learn and to read. And so, through all of these stuff that she goes through with this family, she kind of develops the ability to control things with her mind. This is an incredibly quirky book, as all Roald Dahl books sort of are, and although I did not actually read the book until later in life, the movie strongly influenced me first, but then I definitely fell in love with the story in the book as well. Matilda is just this character that I connected to so strongly. A little girl who's so passionate about reading and about finding new stories, and it's a fantastic story that I highly recommend in both book and film form. The movie is something that I have adored for years, and they're both just fantastic, and Matilda is a wonderful, wonderful character. Next up, Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan. This book doesn't necessarily star someone who's as passionate about books as it does someone who works in a bookstore, and therefore, like, the passion for reading just kind of presents itself. Overall, the thing that's just intrigued me the most about this book is that the idea of a bookstore being open for 24 hours and of there just being a place that you can go and shop or sit is just wonderful to me. I find bookstores incredibly soothing, so the fact that, you know, a place like this would exist soothes me even though I can't actually go there. This book does star a lead character who works in a bookstore that is open 24 hours of the day, but it is also about a mystery and a secret society and a whole lot of other stuff. This book also addresses some of the issues within the, like, hard copy books, ebooks world. Like, this book addresses some of that. Which one are we going towards? Is an ebook better? Is a hardback better? Stuff like that. It's just really interesting, and it has some really great characters, and it's so much fun. Plus the mystery's great, and it takes place in a bookstore. Next up, Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, and this book does not really have that much to do with reading in general, but Selena loves to read. She's so passionate about it, and in the first book, all of the times that she's sneaking off to the library, I just really loved that part of her character, and I thought it made her so much more interesting in that first book, which is a book I didn't enjoy quite as much as the others, but that element was probably my favorite thing about it. Throne of Glass follows a girl named Selena Sardathian, and she is an assassin who has been in a prison camp, and she is released so that she can go and compete alongside a bunch of other assassins, and basically whoever wins this contest wins their freedom and becomes the lead assassin for the king. And that's basically the plot of this book, but alongside being this amazing assassin, Selena does love the written word. She loves talking about books with other people, and she constantly has tons of books stacked up in her room, which I absolutely love. It made this book so much more fun to read as a person who will never be involved in some of the death-defying things Selena was doing, to still be able to connect with her on the level of still adoring stories and reading new books, and it's definitely one of my favorite parts about Selena as the series has gone on. Next up, an old one. This is a middle grade book that I absolutely fell in love with as a kid, and that is The Anybodies by Anybodies? Anybody? Any suggestions? This book is a middle grade book, and it is the beginning of a trilogy, the Anybodies, the Nobodies, and the Somebodies, that I completely adored when I was younger. It follows a girl when she finds out that when she was young she was switched at birth with another person, which is why she's never felt quite like she fit in with her family. There's a lot more to it than that. It has been a great number of years, so I don't remember all of the precise details, but there is a scene in which the lead character must prove herself to a woman by establishing kind of how much she knows about books and how well read she is, because that's very, very important to the family she actually belonged to. And throughout the series in general, she constantly has to save herself using books that she's read and loved, and that made it so much fun to read, especially because she'd read many of the same books I had at that point in my life. Overall, it's just a fantastic adventure story that was made all the more fun by referencing so many books that I loved, and by making a lead character who was so excited about being a part of a story when she'd been reading stories her whole life and longing for one. The next one that I'm going to recommend should be obvious, because how on earth did you think I was going to make it through this video without mentioning the 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield? There are literally books all over the cover, so there's your hint right there. This book actually follows a writer, and she has been called to the home of a recluse author named Vida Winter, who wants the main character to write her biography. And through hearing Vida Winter tell this story, Margaret learns a lot of mysteries and gets sucked into the very gothic world that Vida Winter must have grown up in. Margaret is also a lover of the written word. The way she talks about books sometimes is absolutely incredibly beautiful. There is this quote, it's actually the one I have marked here because I read this book a while ago when I didn't mark quotes quite as often, that just has stayed with me forever. Seriously, I'm gonna read it to you so you'll understand. Do you know the feeling when you start reading a new book before the membrane of the last one has had time to close behind you? You leave the previous book with ideas and themes, characters even, caught in the fibers of your clothes, and when you open the new book, they're still with you. This book is absolutely chock full of quotes like that from a character who clearly adores to read, and it makes the mystery more fascinating, and I really need to reread it now that I mark up books with quotes, because I have a feeling that this is going to have tons of tabs all up and down it. Next up, and again, I don't really know how I would get through this video without mentioning it, The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. This is a historical fiction novel that is from the point of view of death, but it tells the story of a little girl named Liesel in World War II in Germany, and she is a book thief. She loves to steal books because she loves to read. This book can be completely heartbreaking, but it is also beautifully written. One of the most beautifully written books I've ever had the pleasure of reading, and the narrative from the point of view of death is genius. Liesel is such an incredible little character, and I love her connection to books and later her connection to writing her own stories, and it just makes this book so beautiful and so wonderful, and I've never been able to forget it because it is just so beautifully written and so beautifully captures that love of books that I take in every time I read a new story. Okay, we are coming into the last one, and it is not going to be Inkheart, it is not going to be Queen of the Tearling, it is not going to be Fangirl, although I haven't read Fangirl. But all of those do star people who love to read. The last one that I'm going to mention is 84 Charing Cross Road by Helene Hanff. I figured, hey, I mention two of those books all the time, and if you haven't heard of Fangirl by now, what are you doing? Why not mention one that not quite as many people know about? I know that I've talked about this book a few times, but I just think it's so fantastic. It is a non-fiction book, but it is in the form of letters written back and forth between a woman in New York who loves to read but can't find the book she wants, and a bookseller in London who happily provides her with these books, and they form a friendship through these letters of over 20 years. Seriously, this book made my book lover's heart glow the entire time I was reading it. I read it for a class and I could not put it down. It's so sweet, and it's so wonderful to read about a connection between book lovers that really happened. These letters have like this ring of authenticity, and even though she doesn't read a lot of the books that I would ever read, Helene is just so funny and sharp-witted, and these letters are so fun and beautiful and convey such a love of reading. The version of this book that I read is actually a two-parter. The first part is 84 Charing Cross Road, and then the Duchess of Bloomsbury, I believe, and I would highly recommend reading both of those parts together because I think it's a lot more interesting if you can. The Duchess of Bloomsbury is actually Helene's diary entries, so I highly encourage getting both parts because her diary entries, she gets to visit a lot of really literary places, and that's also really fun to read. So if you're looking to connect with a real person who absolutely loves the written word, definitely, please check out 84 Charing Cross Road. Okay, there you go. That is my list of books with bookish lead characters. As I said, there were some ones that were left off this list that definitely star book lovers, so maybe in a few months I will have to do an updated version where I give you some more. But these were my top 7 that I really wanted to mention, and ones that I think book lovers will connect with. I hope I provided a good mix of middle grade, young adult, and adult fiction, and there was even some fantasy in there. Book lovers come in all shapes, sizes, ages, and fantastical worlds. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed seeing all of these bookish characters in literature, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!